Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So these are pencil cases and they are bigger than they need to be for a pencil case, that's for sure. Probably about this much bigger. Like they're not, I don't know if you can tell. Let me get a pencil crayon. Anyway, I made these for my girls because they were asking for a Mermaid pencil case, and they all have these little holders on the back, and because it's I got a nice spine on the back too. I loved how this turned out, you know, because of it being a fish, mermaid. So I loved how the back turned out. Absolutely love it. I decided just to put a bling button on it that's got some shimmer and shine. And the colors are fabulous. So let me just show you. Putting the pencil crayon in there. There's not very many holes, which is good. So when it's down in there, it goes, let me see, right to about there. This is made in a little bit chunky yarn. So if you make it in regular yarn, then with whatever hook it calls for, then it'll probably be a normal size. Another reason I made it a little bit larger, other than my gauge is loose and I'm using chunky, is if you have a whole pile of pencils, they're not all going to fit down into this little space here. Some of them are going to sit up higher, so this gives the room for the pencil crayons to sit up higher if it's full. So there's two reasons why I did what I did. So let's jump right into this. So this is what I used. This is Lollipop. Show you that. So it calls for a 6mm crochet hook. It's 20% wool, 80% acrylic. Not that that matters. It's just a pencil case that we're making. But I thought the colors were really super duper pretty. Now, they don't change very often, but this is what I used for all three of these. So, and I think they turned out pretty good, even though the colors don't change very often. Like, it's variegated, but it's like a long variegated. This one's my favorite. So, I went down in hook size because this calls for a 6mm. So I went down to a 5mm, and then I used a 4mm for the tail, and I think that's it maybe. The tail and the handle that you hold it with. So get your hooks. Get whatever you're using. Whatever you're using, if it's a 4-weight or whatever. This is a 4-weight, I think. It's just a chunky 4-weight. Doesn't really say on the back, but if you're using, like I said, this is bigger than it needs to be. Oops. From tail to the top, folded over, is 12 inches, so it's a foot long. Literally a foot long, and that's 5 inches across at the very tippy top. So I mean, that's why I'm saying if you're using regular yarn and whatever hook size it calls for, it's probably going to be the perfect size. So let's get into this. Is built flat. And then we do this after we build it flat. It's the only way I could figure out how to get, and this is kind of a fake crocodile stitch, but I'll get to that. And I want you to chain 9. We're going to work in half double crochets But I don't want you to put 2 extra stitches here because we're not going to be using the chain as a stitch. So I just want you to, starting in the first stitch, put 8 half double crochets all the way back up. Chain 1, turn your work. So in your first stitch, and you're only chaining 1 even though we're doing half doubles. So in your first stitch, you're going to put 2 half double crochets in the same space. So you're going to see that written with brackets, and on my channel that means the same space. And then you're going to do 6 half doubles across, and then 2 in the last space. That's my 6. And then 2 half doubles in your last stitch, which is, you know, kind of the turning over stitch. Sideways, funny shaped. This next row I just want you to do 10 half double crochets. So starting now, we're going to start doing 2 rows of an increase and then just a regular row of 1 single crochet in each stitch. Your increases are always going to be 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then just regular in between. So I'm probably going to start putting stuff on my pause screen just so that it makes the video faster. Your next round, which is round 4, you're going to put 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. You're going to do 8 all together, or across, and then 2 in the last stitch. And then in your last stitch, you're going to do 2 half double crochets. So your next 2 rounds, you're going to do an increase row, and then you're going to do just a regular row. So I'll put that on my screen, and I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be an increase round. You're going to put 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. You're getting stuck on all kinds of fibers. You're going to do 12 half doubles across and then 2 in the last stitch. And then 2 in this last stitch. So your next 2 rows after this will be an increase row and then a regular row. And I will put that on my screen, and I will see you on the other side. So that was my 18 stitches across, and then we go back into 2 rows of increases and then a regular row. So this is your increase row, So 2 single crochets in this first stitch. You're going to do 16 across, and then 2 in the last stitch. And then 2 in this last turning over stitch. So go ahead, do your second increase row and then your regular row, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have at this point. 22 stitches across. Your next rounds, I'm going to just put them all on the screen for you. So round 13 is going to be 2 half doubles in the first stitch, 20 stitches across, and then 2 half doubles in the next stitch. And then your following rows after that will be put on the screen. So that's my 2 half doubles in the same space. So brackets mean the same space on my channel. So we're just about done this part. This is what you should have. So chain 1, turn your work. Your next 2 rounds is going to be increase rounds. So you're going to do 2 in the first stitch, 2 half doubles in the last stitch, and then the first round is going to be 24 half doubles, and then the second round is going to be 26 half doubles across. And then you're going to do 30 half double crochets. So that's what's going to go on. I know I feel like I'm kind of leaving you through this, but I'm just trying to make the video shorter. And I figure, you know, putting 2 stitches in 1 stitch, you really don't need me to show you every single time. So I will see you on the other side. So, this is what you should have. Just about to the end. You have one more, well, you have 3 more rows. The 2 increases, and then your final row will be 34 half double crochets. And then we start moving on to making all the scales. And as intimidating as this looks, it's pretty easy peasy. So, get your last 3 rows done, and I will see you on the other side. So, we are done, and this is what you should have. So from here, I want you to do 1 half double crochet starting at your corner here that you've ended off with, a half double crochet around to this corner. You don't need to do the top because you already have stitches. The reason I need you to do this is because we need to sew it together and get this spine effect, because I think it just adds to the whole mermaid tail thing. And this is having stitches and not raw edges just really helps you sew it together better, really. And you'll get that kind of effect if you're using the variegated. Hopefully you do. So these need to be even. Even the ones down here, they can't be an odd number. They have to be, you know, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches across. So you need to put 8 stitches across. And then make sure you're putting these even. If you do 30 down here, you gotta do 30 down here. So stick it in wherever you can stick it in, but you can see your holes. They're so easy to find. So that's what we're gonna do in this round, and then we'll start putting the scales on. So you're gonna chain 1, which I've already done, and then you're just gonna start sticking them in. Oh yeah, I was gonna measure my gauge too, just so you know. I already did my 1/2 double, but so this is the pencil case. So I figure if you've got a whole package of pencils, it's gonna push some of them up because they're not all gonna fit down here, and that's why I made it so large. Plus, this, even though it's a 4-weight yarn, is still very much a bulky yarn. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a bulky yarn, it's a thick yarn. So, and that's why the bigger hook. But so yours is probably gonna be smaller. And I have a very loose gauge. So 4 inches with this stuff is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows is 4 inches with this stuff and a 5mm hook. So, like I said. And then for every, let's see, 1 inch is literally 4 stitches of mine makes an inch. So I have a loose gauge. Yours is probably not as big as mine. I always make everything that I design, I always make it bigger because I know I have a loose gauge. So let's come back in here. So easy peasy, you don't need to chain in between, just a 1/2 double, and wherever you can stick it, you just got to make sure you count. So I got 33 down this one side. I'm going to make sure I have 33 going back up. So I'm right back at the top, at the corner, literally at the top. So I'm just going to go into this first stitch at the top. Do a slip stitch. So I need you to fasten off because when we reattach, it's going to be on a post. So this is what you should have. So when we attach, we're not going to touch the first row here. We're going to go down to the posts on this row here. So we're going to start working in the posts. These guys. I know that might be hard to see. I can't come in anymore. So we're going to work on the posts. These dudes. Next row, so we're not touching this row, and then the row after that we're going to be working into these guys right there, and we're going to be doing a reverse slip stitch. So again, don't let it imitate you, it's fairly easy peasy. So you need to make a slip knot. We're still using our 5 for now. We need to skip this row and we need to come down. So all of these 1/2 doubles you did on the side, we're going to work up to them and not into them. We need all of this for sewing and for it to look like a spine. And then this here, we're going to skip this whole top row. And we're going to go down here and we're going to skip one. Now you can kind of create your own pattern with this. So because this is, so we're going to do a crocodile stitch. Well, kind of a makeshift crocodile stitch. For scales, crocodile stitch is usually made on a V-stitch, but I didn't make V-stitches. So we're just going to use the 2 posts. So this one and then this next one. And it all looks the same. So grab your post to reattach. I'm going to zoom in here again. I'm going to squeeze it just so I keep in the post. This stuff is difficult to work with. So I'm going to attach with a single crochet. But I'm going to put 3 half doubles on that post. So it's just easier for me to fold it and work on the post like this while I'm holding it sideways. But now I want you to turn it all the way around. And I want you to find your next post, which is this dude right here. And I want you to put 3 half doubles coming from this side. So you gotta come from this side and under it to grab it. So it can be difficult once you get started, but then once you get started, it's easy peasy. It's like doing a reverse back post stitch, if you know how to do that. And then put 3 half doubles around that guy. And then that's what you get. You get a scale. So that's what we're doing. So then we're going to kind of turn back around normally. You're going to skip 3 posts and go over into this 4th post and put 3 half double crochets. So I squeeze it just to bring it up. And then you're going to turn it all around. This is your next post, but you're not going in this way. You're going to go in backwards, so it can be, again, difficult. I squeeze it to bring it to the surface. So I fold my whole piece in half and I squeeze that post. I yarn over loosey-goosey and I come in from behind to go around that post. So it's this exact same as a crocodile stitch, but I'm not going around a V post. I'm just going around 2 posts. So that's my second scale. And that's what you're going to do all the way across. You're going to skip 3 or 2, whatever you want. I mean, it's your project. You can do whatever you want. There's really no rhyme or reason. Well, I mean, there is a rhyme or reason. So spin it around, pop up that post, come in sideways. You'll get the feel for it after a while. By the time you get to the bottom, you're going to be like, wow, that was easy. It is easy. And just continue. Just make sure you're staying in the same column. It's up to you how tight and how loosey-goosey you pull, but that's what you get, the 3D effect of the shells. So we're coming to the end of this row. I'm going to do this next one in slow motion, and I'll try to zoom in as close as I can. Not sure if I was on camera or not. So there's literally three posts left before we get to the half double that we did over here. So all I'm going to do is skip 2. I'm going to go around that last post before I get to my half double, because I don't want to go into that space. And I am going to make a half double crochet. And that is it. So kind of turn yourself sideways here. We're going to be going into here, but first I want you to make a single crochet just anywhere. There's no real reason. I want to bring this down. I want to bring this down and around. So I'm going to show you how to do the I'm going to zoom out because I keep going off camera, which is not helpful to you. I get that. So I'm going to be going into these guys now, and I know when I first told you it seemed like it was a long way down, but now you see why, because these come down so far. So I'm going to be going into these dudes right now with a reverse slip stitch. So super duper easy. We just have to hold our hook funny. So again, I'm going to zoom in. You're going to find your row, and you're going to pick up your first stitch. If you miss a stitch, it's no big deal. It'll all look the same, trust me. You're going to yarn over, so your hook is backwards at this point. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through those 2 pieces. That's it. So you're going to come back with your hook. The reason I'm holding my hook like this is because it's easier to get in. If you want to hold your hook like that, it's fine. You can still go into the stitch and grab your thing. To me, it would be backwards. I hold mine like this because it's easier to get underneath the stitch. So I've got 2 pieces on. I'm going to yarn over like regular, and I'm going to pull through. But I'm just doing it backwards. So that's a reverse slip stitch, or single crochet. I guess some people have argued that it's actually a single crochet, but you know, either way, that's the stitch that I do all the way across. Because I didn't want to reattach and then, like, I didn't want to fasten off and then reattach every single row, and I didn't want to put shells in every single, or the crocodile stitch in every single row, because it would have felt a little too crowded. So you do have to hold this funny. So I purposely just skipped a stitch just so you see. And all it does is elongate it a little bit. So if you miss a stitch, no one's probably even going to notice it. So I know I'm taking a lot of time in this portion of the video, but it's super duper important that you get this part right, because I mean, that's all, it's the show, it's the big show for the mermaid tail. So we're all the way across, and in here somewhere I missed a stitch, but it all looks exactly the same. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn it around. We do a lot of turning in this. And I'm going to put a single crochet, not in the area I'm not supposed to be in. My camera loves to shut off at the most inopportune time. So I put my single crochet. I'm not in the area that I'm not supposed to be in. And that's my first row of the crocodile stitch. So with every row, depending on where my shells are up here, or my crocodile stitches are up here, determines whether I skip 1 or 2 posts, because I don't want it to be layered. I kind of want it to be offset. So for this, I skipped 1 post over here. I'm going to skip 2 posts on this row, and I'm going to go into my 3rd post. So anyway, carry on with your crocodile stitches, and I'll meet you back for slow-mo of the reverse stitch, and then I'll probably leave you to it. So I'm to the end again. I really don't have anywhere to go. I'm probably going to do the exact same thing, skip 2 stitches, and in this last post, I'm just going to put a half double around there. I'm going to pop down here, and anywhere I can, I'm just going to put a single crochet, and then turn my work. And in all of these, I'm going to put a reverse slip stitch or single crochet, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to go slow-mo again, just so that you get, try to zoom in as much as I can. I don't want to put too much time into this because this is a pretty big project. So go ahead and do your rest of your thing. It gets faster and easier as you go because it gets smaller. So up here is just the busy part. But other than that, there's really no rules. There's no, if you skip a stitch, I'm sure you're going to be fine. If you decide to do your crocodile stitches only 2 posts apart, not 3 posts apart, I'm sure it's going to be fine. This is your project, so you make the ultimate decision. So skip 1 post here. When I started the first row, I skipped 2 posts here. I'm only going to skip 1 here. So some of these are off center from the post above. So continue with your pattern, and I will see you when we get down to the bottom. So I just wanted to pop in here. When you come to the point where your last crocodile stitch is actually right on the edge, you're not supposed to touch, I would just finish the stitch, chain 1, and then come down here and do your single crochet and continue on. So this is mine. I should have mentioned I don't go all the way down to the bottom because clearly this is going to be the point and we need to sew the tail on. So I don't go all the way down to the bottom, and I didn't mention that before, which I should have. I'll probably just put it on the screen. So this is mine, and I ended with my reverse slip stitch row here. I am just going to fasten off. So my color change is kind of neat. So we just need to tuck in our ends before we continue. We're going to just sew it up now. So this crocodile stitch here, obviously you're going to have to kind of come up this way to do your weaving to kind of pull that side of that stitch down. It is currently, gosh, I don't even know what time it is. It's 6:30 in the morning on Christmas morning, and these are going to be stocking stuffers So I have 3 granddaughters, so that's why I did 3. So this one's just going to be an extra one. I'll probably just put my hooks or something into. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to fill it with. Because really, I mean, if you're using the same yarn I am, it's almost like it's a little purse, too. Like it could be the size of a purse. This is where hopefully you're in a different color, which I am. I always am. Every single one that I did, I end up in a different color. So you just need a bunch of, because we're going to sew it up. So I'm going to make a slip knot on one end. And I'm going to thread, get off my finger. I'm going to thread my other end. So I'm going to roll this up like it's a cornucopia. And then it gets sewed like that. So find a spot to start and make sure you're matching that same spot. Because all of this has to be equal. So I pull it until my little loopy is there. And then I just tighten it down like that. And I make a knot. So hopefully this is even for you. Probably just have to eyeball it, but... And now we just go stitch for stitch, doing a whip stitch. So in that stitch, out that stitch. And all these little pieces of purple are gonna still kind of show through. So you get it. So continue to do that all the way down. So this is why I needed you to have even stitches. So that when you get down to here, they're not going to be so screwy. So you can just give a nice tug on that just to make sure all of this is nice and tight. My last 2 stitches at the bottom is where I'm going to make my knot. And I'm going to add another knot just for safekeeping. Even though I'm sewing something to the bottom of this, I'm always scared something's going to come open. So, once you're finished, because it's so tight in here, I just weaved back up my spine a little bit. I didn't want to go very far because I don't want it to be noticeable. So that is my spine for my fishtail. And if you don't want that, I mean, you can certainly not do your half doubles and don't use a different color to sew it up if you don't want that. Just do singles around your project if you want the stitches, or just sew up the raw edges and you won't get the spine. But I actually think the spine is, I mean, it is a mermaid, for God's sakes, right? So with your 4mm, you're going to make a slip knot. You're going to chain 13. We're going to do a combination of half doubles and singles. So for the first 4 stitches, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each. So 4 single crochets. Then you're going to do 8 half doubles. This is my 8th stitch. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and then I'm going to start working into the back loops only for the rest of the project. So from here, I want you to do 8 half doubles in the back loops only. So that's my back loop right there. So this is the whole stitch. This is my back loop. It's so small, it's hard to see. But anyway, do 8 of those. And then I want you to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only. Chain 1, turn your work. In the back loops only, I want you to do 4 single crochets. And then I want you to do 6 half doubles in the back loops only. That's my 6, so you're going to have this overhang because we're not doing 8. You're going to chain 1 and turn. And now I want you to do 6 half doubles and 4 singles in the back loops only. That's my 6 half doubles. And now I'm going to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only. Chain 1, turn your work. I want you to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only, and then 4 half doubles. That's 4 single crochets, and then 4 half doubles in the back loops only. And again, you're going to have this row longer than the last row. Chain 1, turn your work. And you're going to do 4 half doubles and 4 singles in the back loops only. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only. Changes a little bit here, so don't work ahead of me. That's 4 single crochets in my back loops, and I'm going to do 2 half doubles. Chain 1, turn your work. Now I want you to do 6 single crochets in the full stitch. Brings you back up to the top. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to start increasing in the back loops only. You're going to do 4 single crochets. Then you're going to do 1 half double in the back loop only. And your final stitch in the back loop only, you're going to put 3 half double crochets, all in the same space. Chain 1, turn your work. Continuing in the back loops, you're going to do 4 half double crochets and 4 singles. Chain 1, turn your work. Back loops only, you're going to do 4 single crochets. Just about done. Then I want you to do 3 half doubles in the back loops only. You have 1 more stitch left because we did 4 half doubles coming back up. In that last stitch I want you to do, which is kind of a turning over stitch now at this point. It's hard to find, it's hard to get into. But I want you to put 3 half doubles in that same space. Chain 1, turn your work. So, in the back loops only, I want you to do 6 half doubles and 4 singles. Chain 1, turn your work. Last couple of rows, you're going to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only. You're going to do 5 half doubles. That's my 5 half doubles. And in this last turning over stitch, you're going to put 3 half double crochets. Oh, I think I did the full stitch there, but I don't think anybody will notice. So your last round is going to be exactly the same thing that we started with, 8 half doubles and 4 singles, all in the back loops only. So from here I want you to fasten off. You're gonna need a tail because we need to weave through this and pull, and then we need enough to sew it to the fin. So weave this little guy in first. Let's get him right out of the way. I'm just going to weave him kind of back up the side. Just make sure you don't stretch it out of shape. And then this tail here, we're going to come and you're going to see holes when you pull this apart. You can stick it in there, you can stick it in there, you can stick it in there. And I want you to just weave. So in and out, go back in, come back out, in and out, all along just the very top of this piece. Oops. Till you come back around, pull this through. So this is the consensus. The reason for doing this is to pull that tight to make it a tail, right? So pull it as tight as you want and then just come back around like a whip stitch. So you're not starting on this side, you're coming back over here and you're gonna weave one more time. And then just pull on that till your tail is formed. I wouldn't say you really need to make a knot here because we're going to sew it from here to the tail. So choose quite a bit of the tail to sew it to. Like we left quite a bunch. So just make sure it's even because one of my tails is kind of off center. Actually, it's this one right here. That tail, yeah, way off center. So I don't sew well, but just make sure that this is going to be even. And then just go in and out. I just went in and out. With all the colors going on, you don't really see what's going on behind the scenes. Like, I don't think too many kids are going to be flipping this over going, oh my God, there's sew marks back here. And if you pull tight enough, you're not going to see it. But you guys know how to sew. I'm not here to teach you how to sew. I shouldn't be teaching anybody how to sew. So it's up to you how you sew this on. But I do like to sew right like my edge down so it kind of curls back. But it's completely up to you. So my tail kind of curls back like that around. And that is it. So weave in your end, make your knots, and I will meet you back and we'll get the top of it done and get our buttons sewn on and we will be completed. Making the top part of it, I need you to make sure that this is laid flat and straight. We need to go 8 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8, go in here and reattach, but we're only going 2, 4, 6, 8 to the other side. So it's 8 and 8 on either side. So make a slip knot and count back 8 stitches, not including these little 2 things right there. Don't count those, count the stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to go into there. I'm going to use both my tail and that to reattach. I want you to do 16 stitches. So when you get to your 8th stitch, ignore all this here and pop across to the next stitch to continue. And that'll pull that together. That'll be 9. We're putting a handle there anyway, don't worry about it. That's my 16th stitch. I want you to chain 1 and turn your work. So when you lay yours flat, this should be in the middle of your work, just like that. Should have a tiny little hole there, but it's not really going to be that noticeable. So chain 1, turn your work. We're going to decrease these first 2 stitches. It's hard to hold now. I want you to do 12 single crochets and decrease the last 2. And then these last 2 stitches, one of them is where we went in, the other one is where we attach, or one of them is a stitch, one of them is where we reattached, so it's going to be a little tight. Chain 1, turn your work. But you don't want a little bobble thing hanging out here, so your next round is going to be a decrease again, so decrease the first 2 stitches. You're going to do 10 single crochets across. That's my 10th stitch, and I'm going to decrease the last 2. Chain 1, turn your work. You are going to decrease the first 2. We're going to do 8 stitches across. Oops, I did not go into that full stitch. That's my 8th stitch. And I'm going to decrease the last 2 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to decrease the first 2. We're going to do 6 single crochets across and decrease the last 2. We're going to decrease the first 2. Now we're going to do 4 stitches across and decrease the last 2. Chain 1, turn your work. So this is where we make our buttonhole. You're going to decrease the first 2. You're going to chain 3, you're going to skip those 2 stitches, and you're going to decrease the last 2 stitches. That's our buttonhole. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to work in the buttonhole when we get to it. First we're going to do 1 single crochet in this 1 stitch here. We're going to put 2 single crochets into the buttonhole. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet over here. Chain 1, turn your work. We have 4 stitches. You're going to decrease both of them. So decrease the first two, decrease the last two, chain one, turn your work. We're just trying to put a point on the end of this. And 2 stitches left, you're going to decrease to make a point and fasten off. So it gives you your buttonhole and a point. So I just need you to weave. All right, now we need to find a button. So I found a button that's blingy because all the ones that I have made so far have some blingy effects. So, I just want to show you. I made 4 of these. I've made 4. We have to do the handle on the back still, but this is the ball that I used from the very beginning. I started the ball. I made 4 of these pencil cases that are extra large, and I still have this ball left to do the handle and sew this on. I'm still going to have part of the ball left. So if that gives you, and that's with my loosey-goosey gauge. So if that gives you any indication on what this ball of yarn is going to do, which is, let me see, this is, says 382 yards, 350 meters, 7-ounce, 200-gram ball of yarn to do 4 of these. So I hope that helps. So anyway, I just need a little piece of yarn and a needle of some, this won't work because I don't think this will go through this. I need a small enough needle that'll go through that. I think that'll probably work. So put that through that first of all. I'm gonna use a regular needle now. I hate those tiny ones. So you just need to figure out where you need, obviously, your, I need it to be right about there. So once you figure that out, I'm just gonna pop through to the other side with that. Pop through to the other side with that. Trying not to move this around. I already got one button off center. That's why I'm being so cautious this time. So I'm going to tie 3 double knots, and then I'm just going to weave a little bit, but I don't think you need to weave far. But I wouldn't just cut it off, because if this knot comes undone, then your button's gonna fall off, and your button is the only thing keeping your pencil crayons in. I wanted to have this video done for Christmas, but I had all the shark slippers to do for kids and toddlers, and then I had a shark pencil case I had to do. Sharks and mermaids seem to be the 2 most popular things to do. So this is Christmas morning, and I didn't quite, I'm just filming the video now, so I'm a little behind because I got a little busy, and then I had to finish my Christmas blanket that I did and for my channel, and busy, busy, busy time of year for us YouTubers. So, there we go. My button on. So far, that's my thing. I love the colors. Like, it takes a long time to change, but it ends up looking pretty cool. I like the fact that mine was purple down the spine. So to make the little handle in the back, well, that's my button making noise. So I just reattached again. So you're obviously going to do it on either side of the spine. So you just got to make sure, again, you're even. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of bars. That's what those are called, bars. I could have moved my yarn. So I'm going to pick up a couple of bars using the 2 pieces so I don't have to weave in my tail later. I'm going to pull through and pull through. Or not. Yeah, I didn't get that pulled through. I'm going to chain 20. That's my 20, the hard way. And then I'm going to pop over here. If you get this twisted, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. And pop over here. Try to keep things even, Steven. And pick up the equivalent of a couple of bars. I'm just trying to stay the same distance away from my spine. Yeah, I don't think I am. Anyway, pull through, reattach. Ish. Chain 1. And in your big space, I want you to put 20 half double crochets. You can move them around later, so you don't have to try to make it even all the way around because you're going right into the space. So that's my 20. And because you're in the big space, you can move this around. So once you come back down to the bottom here, I'm going to chain 1. I am going to go into this space that I started with, and I'm going to slip stitch and fasten off. And with this straggler, I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to do my weaving. And I'm going to weave right up the handle. Because I tied a knot, I just need to do it once. I don't need to go back and forth. And same with this guy. There we have it. This might seem big, but kids can wrap it right around their wrist so that they don't lose it. If they're taking this to school, they definitely want to wrap this around their wrist, or maybe in a binder or something. You can wrap it around, do it a couple of times like an elastic. So anyway, there we have it. Our mermaid pencil case purse, I guess. I don't know. You can use it for whatever you want to use it for. So thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.